Did you think I was dead? No, not quite. I'm still here. Andrew Bridgen rang me the other day. You know, that laudable MP, Andrew Bridgen, who's been sticking up for the truth, like so many other MPs seem to have failed to do their duty, particularly over a certain medical intervention. He rang me up because he heard that I'd been arrested. And I said to him, no, I haven't been arrested. I just had some thugs at my door over some stupid ULEZ thing, clean air or whatever. Anyway, that was irrelevant. I assured him I was okay and getting back. And he said, it's a shame you were unable to come on the 4th to the parliamentary presentations that he had. And I said, yes, I apologise for that because I had my diary has been so busy, I missed out. He said, well, it's finally it's gone ahead and, you know, people are talking about it. It's been fantastic. But there was a lot of shenanigans going on to prevent it from happening. I said, oh, do tell. I'm sure my viewers would love to know. Well, you may know of the event. And if not, I've got some notes here that I scribbled down. This was the presentation given by various experts to parliamentarians. Apparently, Andrew managed to get 20 MPs into the room to actually listen for a change to what's been going on. And some of the experts were included Dr. David Martin, Pierre Curie, Robert Malone, Dr. Ryan Cole, Professor Angus Dalgleish and Steve Curtis. And let me tell you, now the videos are circling around on the internet, of course, and these presentations are very hard-hitting. Steve Curtis in particular talking about Barry Young, the gentleman in New Zealand who had realised that the data was telling some very grave information about damages and people dying as a result of the medical intervention that was mandated and was known about, and the dangers that was known to harm people. And he exposed that to Liz Gunn, and you may remember perhaps that Liz Gunn is now in hiding. Liz Gunn is on the run. Sounds like a bit of a song, but I hope she doesn't mind me saying that. Liz Gunn's on the run. But Barry Young has been committed now for 7 years in prison. And we don't know whether he'll even ever get out, because this data is so damning and it proves without a single doubt that the mandated you-know-whats was causing, well, death. And Steve Curtis was giving a lot of information about it. And I'll put a link to one of the videos that have been sent to me, and you can have a look at it if you haven't seen it already. But I wanted to talk about some of the shenanigans that the British Parliament are doing in order to prevent, say, other MPs understanding, or indeed the public, what is really going on. So Andrew said they'd booked the room on the 4th in the Wilson room. Now, he rang me and I was somewhat under the weather, let's say. So I wasn't fully comprehensive, but I've made some notes. So if I've got some of these details wrong, please, I put my hand up and you'll have to forgive me. However, there is some great news at the back of this. So originally it was a room for 120, I think, members of the audience to come in and witness the presentation from these incredible experts, some of whom I've met when at the Better Way conference earlier this year. But they got moved. They got moved from the room that they were initially put in, the 120 spaces, without warning. Said, oh, well, sorry, we need that room. You'll have to have this other room, which could only do about 70 members of the public. But they didn't tell anybody at the time that that room was being used for something else. So it was down in another part of the building. So people had to find that when they came. So that was a bit of a thing. And in the end, of course, they didn't even use this room, the 120-seater room. So that was a bit naughty. But they put security on the door So now people who had an invite had to be, they got into Parliament and all of that business, and then they had to be, not frisked, I don't think, but you know, you couldn't get in unless your invite had your name on it or whatever it was. And Andrew said that's never happened before. So again, another stumbling block. He said there was a television for people to put their presentations up and to show videos or to link via the internet to various places. And we needed an HDMI cable to link up the laptop to it, like you do in these presentations. And so there wasn't, excuse me, there wasn't one handy. So the Parliament IT people came in. They sorted that out. But unbeknown to anybody is they turned the volume down on the television. Now, this is one of these, you know, presentation televisions that has no knobs on it or buttons. You can only use the remote control to turn the volume up and down. And guess what? They walked out, these IT people, with the remote control. Andrew's pretty convinced that that was a deliberate function to make it awkward for the presentations to go ahead. Apparently, oh yes, film crews and others had their cameras taken off them so they couldn't film the event. So people are there having to hold up their phones as the only means of recording this very important meeting. Well, as I say, there'll be a clip and you'll be able to see some of those, and I dare say other people will have links. Just be careful if you put links into the comments, because YouTube just for some reason also gets rid of those links. But if I see them, I'll try and add them into the description so people can see what went on in that room. However, the good news is, despite the disruptions, despite the troubles and trying to get this thing to not happen, 17 of the MPs who were there have now put their name down in support for a backbench debate on sudden death. Now, I don't know when it will happen, hopefully in January, something like that, as urgent as it bloody ought to be, of course. But this is the beginning now. It means there's enough MPs to make that actually happen. They've got to have this backbench debate, which will, of course, be the scrutinise of this country and no doubt many others. And the snowball is now beginning to roll. And it's my opinion that this year, although it's going to get tough, and there's going to be all sorts of weird shenanigans along the way, I think that we are going to see the truth break out and a far greater understanding from the mass public, the people of this land, to the terrible, tyrannical, dare I say murderous aspect that this government has done. And we have seen, and I've not been able to follow it, but the mysterious WhatsApps, messages that the Prime Minister of the time, Boris Johnson, had that have vanished, and indeed the Richie Sunak ones that have vanished. It is incredible. I will leave you on a note of irony. Before Andrew went, he said to me, "You know, I've got this court case against Matt Hancock, the former Health Secretary." And I said, "Yes, is this the one in which he accused you of slander, or when you read out a quote from one of these Jewish leaders of communities in which the pandemic has proved to be a terrible atrocity since a certain time in history, which he mentioned. And of course, it's about the terrible harms that it's caused and the sudden deaths." And Andrew said, "Yes, that's the very one." He said, "Well, unfortunately, the defence, which is Matt Hancock's lawyer team, have come forward and said we need more time. We need more time to prepare for the court case." Now, I don't know how this works, but I understand if you go and say as a defence you need more time, there has to be a very good reason for that. So the Bridgen team said, well, what is the reason that you need more time? This has been going on for some time now, surely you're ready. And the Matt Hancock team came back and said, well, we're very sorry to announce that the lead lawyer on our team has died suddenly. As I say, the irony could not be harder. Thank you for watching.